Ladies, gentlemen, please take your seats. The spotlight is about to begin. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mystery Matt, and you're listening to the Mystery Matt Spotlight Podcast. This evening, we are talking about a tale long ago came to be the Loch Ness Monster. This evening, I'm joined by Colleen and Greg, and Sarah sitting in the audience. Hi, Sarah. You guys want to say hi?
Hello.
And I'm here, and I got the detective with me, too.
Yeah, Detective Tuesday's here. That should be a little bit lower, I think, your microphone, if you can. Yeah, there you go.
Ooh la la.
It's weird because Greg's taller than you, and it's in a weird spot, but we'll try and get it to work. Anyways, so the tale of a creature living in the Loch Ness, right?
Yes,
right?
that's right. It's a fresh water called a loch, and then it's a river, Ness, that flows into the loch. That's how it became the Loch Ness Monster. Yeah, very cool, eh?
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Did you know that it's the second largest loch in Scotland by area, and it's 31 kilometers southwest of Inverness? Did you know that?
I did not.
Oh, now you know.
I'm not really good at geography.
That was one of my strong subjects.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, in high school I always enjoyed geography.
It's the second largest, so is there two Loch Ness Monsters in the largest one?
I don't know. No, I don't think I think it's the only one that has the Loch Ness.
We'll go check. We'll wait.
It's the only one in Scotland that has a reputed monster, and it is Loch Ness. Loch Ness is the only one that has it. So.
Oh, it's a bunny wee loch.
Some more information about the loch. It's also one of the many interconnected bodies of water, all very murky water due to the high peat content of the soil, so it's visibly very low.
You're saying high peat.
Yeah,
not high P content.
No, peat. But there could be some.
They didn't put that blue dye stuff in,
no.
So you can't tell.
Well, they might have, after 100 years, you never know, right? Thousands of years, actually, yeah.
Does anybody know how deep this loch is?
Yes, I was just going to get to that.
Yeah?
It's 230 meters,
okay,
or basically 754 feet, but I don't think that's really 100% right, because I was watching a documentary on the Loch Ness, and they said that they found like a deeper area, like in the 80s, so it actually went further down, about 800 feet. So,
wow.
Yeah, and there's caves down there too as well.
And that's what I was wondering, if there's interconnecting caves that go underneath it, like if it goes that deep and then has tunnels that go to other deeper places, I could see how something could get into the loch.
Yeah, they did say though, like one of the theories of the Loch Ness, how it got in there, was glaciers, because there was big glaciers alongside of where the loch is, and they melted, and they figured that it melted into the loch, and it got stuck in there, and that's where it's been all that time, in there, apparently.
That's a long time. It would have to be a couple generations, you would think.
Yeah, but there are sightings back in that area, back I think it's 500 BC before Christ. So, yeah, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But
carry on.
Yeah,
doing great.
So, the Loch Ness Monster is also known as Nessy. A lot of people just go by Nessy now.
Yeah, it's easier.
Yeah, exactly, and it sounds fun too. Basically, it's known as a mythical creature in the Scottish folklore. It's also known to look like a large, long-necked. Well, it looks like it's very large and it has a long neck, and with one or more humps that you can see from the water. So if you're looking at it from the side of the lake, you can see its big long neck comes out, and sometimes there's like little humps behind it, and it looks like a camel almost in the water, basically.
Okay, so do you have any other descriptions of it?
Well, that's the main.
Because I do have a point. Colleen, you can't take my thunder here. If you haven't it written down, I got stuff to say over. Oh shit. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Colleen wins. I ain't written shit.
It's often compared to a plesiosaur, an ancient dinosaur.
See, I would say a plesiosaur.
Plesiosaur. Oh, I knew I was going to say it wrong, but it's often compared to an ancient
That's why we
water-dwelling
brought
dinosaur.
Sarah. Plesiosaur.
Is it plesiosaur? Okay, all right. We'll take the dino experts on there. So that's what it's often compared to, and I mean, it does look very similar.
I've also heard it referred to as a long serpent, more like a Chinese water dragon.
Actually, that one I don't think came across that in much descriptions of Nessy, but that is also referred. There's a few others that are referred to like that. Yeah. So I have
some
confirm that later.
Conspiracy theory stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh. Love the haircut, Greg.
What's that?
Love the haircut.
I haven't cut my hair in a while.
Yeah, I know. It's fine though.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's fine.
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
Just let it go, baby.
You think?
Why not? Be you. Let it flow.
Yeah. So to get back into some of the history of Nessy, we'll go. The first sighting of it was in 565.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
I was in high school then.
Yeah, and so basically, there was this one particular story about this Irish monk named Saint Columba. He was visiting the area of Loch Ness with some of his companions, and they went for a walk near the river Ness, and they saw a group of people who were just burying one of their own one day. And they said, what happened? And basically they said this monster came out of the water and dragged their friend into the river and killed the person. And they were just like, and St. Columba was just like,
oh, they were burying one of their own?
Yeah, one of their companions died, right? So they were burying it, and they saw when they walked up to them.
Yeah, I heard a different term. Keep going.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even saying mine. No.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So anyways, so St. Columba decided to go into the water, and he brought one of his partners in to go with him, and they swam across the river, and when they got to the other side of the river, Nessy came out and was there, and it was ready to attack them. But then basically Columba had a cross, and he did like basically a religious thing, and the Nessy disappeared, like it went the other way kind of thing. So
prestidigitated.
Yeah. So that was something. So I mean that was like the biggest thing back then. If we want to make it a little bit more recent, we'll go to like 1933 is when they actually had like an actual photo of Nessy taken.
Okay.
So, and that was basically well, it actually started in 1993 where they saw more sightings.
1993?
Sorry, 1933, sorry.
Oh, okay.
And there was like a lot of people that have been talking about it, and it started to get really popular again because they were seeing it all seeing like different sightings of it, and there's like thousands of different types of sightings and everything.
Showing up more often and stuff.
And basically, one of the people that first saw it was George Spicer, and he told the newspaper about it, and they published an article about it, and that's where everything started to kick off, basically, for the popularity of the Loch Ness Monster. So, yeah. Do you have some stuff you want to say?
But no, it's funny. So you were talking about 1933. So that was like 91 years ago now. There's been, you mentioned like the photograph that came out then. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is that there's been a lot of scams around Nessy, and that's inevitable whenever there's a mystery as intriguing as this. People try to capitalize on it. In August of 33, the journalist Francesco Gasparini was one of the ones responsible for starting a number of the articles about Nessy. And he was a London correspondent for the Milan newspaper. He later, about 20 years later, he reported that he had faked it all. He said the news had been slow and he needed something to write about. So he scoured through all the papers all across the UK for a possible story, and he came across a Scottish story of two fishermen who saw a strange fish. But he knew he couldn't get anywhere with that one. So he started to spin it into a story about a monster. The problem was it took off. And all of a sudden he needed more copies. So he started to invent eyewitness reports and detailed accounts and all sorts of things. And from there, it just blew up. But he later, in 1959, he said he made it all up. And the famous photograph was called the surgeon's photo. And it was in 1934. The photograph was taken by Robert Wilson. And like I said, it was called the surgeon's photograph. We've all seen it. It's the one that everyone's seen. It's the head and the neck are above in the water. It's kind of a grainy black and white image. So Wilson had gone on a fishing trip with a friend, Maurice Chambers, near Inverness at the Loch. When the photos were published, the doctor actually tried to keep his name from the papers, but he was unsuccessful. And this actually led to him being fined by the British Medical Association for being involved with a photo that was deemed to be a breach of professional ethics. I don't know why. I have no idea why a photo of Nessy would be a breach of professional ethics. But anyway, he was fined. Years later, in 1994, Maurice Chambers died. Some of his papers were examined, and this is when it was all revealed to be a hoax. There were a number of conspirators, one of which was Marmaduke Wetherell, who was a big game hunter, and this was actually his second involvement in a Loch Ness Monster scam. And apparently Wetherell actually was the one who took the photograph, and it was of a toy submarine that had a head and neck made of wood added to it. The model was made by a man named Christian Sperling, who verified this before he died in 93. The surgeon, Wilson, was chosen as the front man because he liked practical jokes, and it was believed that his status as a surgeon would actually lend credibility to the photo. So the photo that kind of started the whole Nessy mania was years later revealed that they all said that it was the setup. Yeah. So kind of sad on that one when we all think about this great photo, but yeah. There's been a lot of other scams over the years. Like I said, Wetherell, the big game hunter, in the early 30s, he said he found a bunch of footprints of Nessy. Well, it turns out that he took a umbrella stand made out of a hippo foot and used that to make the footprints. So they found hippo prints all around the loch, and it was from an umbrella stand. I won't go into the ethics of making an umbrella stand out of a hippo's foot, but anyway.
See, that's the other thing too. If it's a plesiosaur, it's not going to have like elephant feet. It's going to have flippers.
Yeah, exactly. There's been so many. There was a fossil found in 2003, but it was later found to be fake. In 2005, 5TV, which I believe is a British company, was filming a documentary on the Loch Ness. They used special effects to try and convince people that something was in the lake. They also constructed an animatronic plesiosaur. Woohoo!
Yeah, you nailed it.
All right. And they called it Lucy. And then they put it in the lake. And there were over 600 reports because of that. Because they didn't tell anybody that they put it there. They just were waiting for people to see. In 2005, 2 students claimed to have found a tooth from Nessy. And they created a website for it. They went really public. But it was actually found that it was an antler of a muntjac, which is a deer native to Asia. And it was done as a publicity stunt for a book, a horror novel called The Loch. Yeah. So there have been so many. There was, in 2011, another photo was released of Nessy. And this one was taken by George Edwards. He was a Scottish skipper who ran like a tour boat on the loch. And the photo showed a large hump in the water. He claimed that he didn't release it until it was examined by experts. Specifically, he said that the U.S. military monster experts had verified the image, but there is no such team. There were a number of questions with the photo, and many wondered, big question was that he said he'd seen it for at least 5 minutes. Well, why did he only have one picture of it? So that was a big question people were asking, and you could not tell what the actual size of the object was. 2 years later, in 2013, he came clean and said he had faked it. And it was just a fiberglass model that was used in a National Geographic documentary. So there have been so many different scams. It's kind of sad. The funny one was in 1972, Yorkshire's Flamingo Park Zoo sent a team of zoologists to study the area. This was during a big Nessy hunt time. And they made the amazing find of a decomposing body that weighed as much as 1.5 tons and measured around 5 meters long. It was described as having a bear's head with claw-like fins and brown scaly body. The cadaver was actually seized by the police as there is a parliamentary law prohibiting the removal of unidentified creatures from the loch. That one I thought was interesting. There's an order of parliament that no unidentified creatures can be removed from the loch. Kind of odd. So the police seized it. And they tested it, and actually it turns out that an education officer of the zoo, John Shields, took the body of a recently deceased bull elephant and disfigured it before dumping it in the loch to joke his colleagues. Pretty sad. But I guess that one did cause quite a bit of a stir when it came out in terms of, oh my God, we found a body, and it was a prank. But I did think it was very interesting that there is a parliamentary order that nothing can be removed, like no unidentified body can be removed from the loch. That one kind of caught me. I couldn't find any more information on it. Maybe that was a fluke, but anyway.
Weird.
So if we get back to the present right now, actually the Loch Ness was actually in the news in the last few weeks. A Canadian couple was visiting Scotland, and they were at Loch Ness, and they were taking pictures, and they noticed something in the water, and sure enough, it looks like the Loch Ness monster, and they took a picture of it. And in the interviews I was watching, basically they sent it off to the government, and they verified that it could be an actual picture of the Loch Ness. And this is actually kind of neat because, well, actually, you and I were discussing it earlier this week. Yeah. There's like the 90th anniversary, but apparently it was last year, not this year. But they're celebrating it as a 90th for some reason this year. That they're all going to go near Loch Ness, and they're basically going to try to find the monster. And they have like this center there that's called I think it's called the Loch Ness Center, and they just renovated it and made it. They added like a whole bunch of stuff to it, so it's a big, I guess it's like a center where you can go and find out information about the Loch Ness and everything. So everyone's supposed to meet there, and it starts actually May 31st, and it goes till June 2nd. And so if you're in the area in Loch Ness, why not go? go out and
Give her a go. Why
yeah,
not?
give it a monster hunt. I think that'd be kind of fun.
I know we do have listeners from all around the world, so
Yeah.
you never know.
You never know. I mean, I always wanted to go to Scotland myself, so one of these days I will go.
What's the date? Give us a timestamp. Because we never actually say like the dates we're recording or anything on these things, so there's no actual like.
When, like,
Yeah, when is this event, Greg?
when am I going to go?
No, when is that event?
Oh, it's actually May 31st till June 2nd,
2024.
2024. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got to know when to get there.
Right, that's true. So you have like a couple of weeks.
My parents actually went to Loch Ness, but they didn't see anything. They did go to Scotland in like 2000, and they did go to the Loch, but they never saw anything, unfortunately. So.
Not a darn thing. Was there a lot of, like, do they play up the memorabilia like they do at Area 51 with the aliens and stuff? Like, do they really lean into it hard?
I think they're more like, it's more presented as a folklore, so I don't think, I mean, they might go celebrate. Like, I don't think there's really no official holiday or anything for
But,
it.
like, is there, like, stuffies and T-shirts and signs and stuff like there is for, like, Area
I didn't
51?
really see anything when I was searching.
I came across some. There's like the Loch Ness Center, which is like all dedicated to the Loch Ness monster. There's all these tour boats which run all over the loch. It is a huge business. It is a huge business. They've got statues of the Loch Ness. In fact, they one of the statues they made of the monster ended up falling into the water, and during one search, they actually thought they found the monster, but they found the statue. So there is a lot going on there in regards to this. And in fact, the one guy in 2011, the tour boat operator who took the picture, he did that as he wanted to rebuild the interest in the Loch Ness monster. So he thought by doing that, it could help. Quiet. There's been a lot of searches of the loch over the years. Like, people have come out massively. Like Greg said, they're doing a search this year. They're calling it the 90th anniversary one, but they actually did one last year in the summer. And it was in late August of 23, they hosted a huge event. And it was a weekend event billed as the biggest hunt in over 50 years. Hunters came with sonar, thermal imaging drones, hydrophones, you name it. It was also live streamed so that people at home could watch the lake and see if they could see anything. It was a big event last year, and I guess they're redoing it this year. I brought in a lot of tourism in that.
They call it the 90th anniversary again.
And that's the weird thing, because they called last year's the 90th, and they're calling this one the 90th again.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess 91 wouldn't really work.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is the 91 anniversary.
There have been, like I said, there have been a lot of searches. Like in 1962, a UK-based society was formed to study the Loch Ness and identify the creature. And they were called the Loch Ness Phenomena Investigation Bureau. And in 1967, they actually received $20,000 from World Book Encyclopedia to fund a 2-year program of watchers from May to October. And so they set up a whole bunch of movie cameras that would move around the lake, and then one was placed near the center of the loch. It covered about 80% of the surface of the water. And the LNIB, so the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau, would charge you a yearly subscription, and that would cover the administrative costs. And mainly it was their volunteers were all volunteers who they funded everything themselves. And they watched the loch, and they kept going until about 1972. But they actually, in 68, they conducted a sonar study. And Gordon Tucker was chair of the Department of Electronic and Electrical Engineering at the University of Birmingham. And he volunteered himself as a sonar expert. The process included the collaboration of volunteers and experts in many fields. And at Loch Ness, Tucker tested a new prototype sonar transducer that had a range of about 800 meters. It was fixed underwater and directed to the opposite shore. And they declared nothing could slip by this net. During its 2-week run in 1 August, there were multiple targets found. One was likely a shoal of fish, but others did not look like shoals of fish, or didn't look like anything they knew, and they moved at speeds of up to 10 knots, which is about 18 kilometers an hour. So they found things which they thought were interesting. And then over the years, throughout the latter half of the 1900s, a gentleman named Robert Rines conducted many studies. He did it in 72, 75, 2001, 2008. He did a lot. In 72, he led a team of researchers from the Academy of Applied Science, and they used sonar to look for unusual activity. He also, with this, he used a submersible with a floodlight so that any area with activity could be lit up and photographed. On August 8th of 72, a moving target was identified at a depth of 11 meters, so not very deep. And it was measured with a sonar to be about 6 to 9 meters in length. The specialists in sonar, which were from maritime institutes and MIT, were on hand to analyze the data. They felt that it indicated that there was something coming from one of the echoes. It was described to be highly flexible, laterally flattened tail is what they felt it was. And they weren't too certain. Some thought it might be two animals swimming together. But then the camera also captured 2 pictures of what appeared to be a rhomboid flipper. The problem with these is that we don't know what the original pictures look like. The photos were enhanced and retouched from the original negatives. And one team member says that the image of the flipper was actually superimposed by a magazine editor. So unfortunately, we do not know what the original pictures look like, which is pretty sad.
See, I'm going into this just really hoping and praying for Nessy, but it ain't looking good, kids.
Well, I gotta tell you, there have been so many searches with sonar. Like in 75, a second search was launched with sonar. There were a number of photos taken, but they were really murky. Like you could not see much.
Okay, so like I get it's a big lock, right? It's the second biggest one in Scotland. Greg told me.
That's right.
You know, I was there. Even still, like Bigfoot, for example, has several different forest environments to completely spread out in. Where is Nessy? In Loch Ness. If you can't find it there, it's probably not there.
Well, you know, and it's interesting because Rines also, he searched like in 2001. And there were a few more images on that one. They found like there was like a V-shaped wake over the water on a calm day. There was also a video this time of an object that looked to be a carcass with marine shells and fungi around it. The problem with that is those marine shells and fungi don't exist in that lake. They're not normally found there. It's a freshwater lake. So the thought on that one is there a hidden connection to the sea that they don't know about? How did this get in there? But in 2008, when Rines went back, he found nothing. No sonar hits, no images, and eyewitness accounts had declined at that point. He actually believes that the whatever was there might actually have gone extinct in those few years, that it was not able to adapt to the changes in water temp due to global warming.
It
might could have. You know, there's a few others I can go into, but
well, what I was.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, so yeah, what you were saying is like some of the examples, right? So, I mean, like there are some videos that, if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of documentaries about Loch Ness as well. And there's some videos of basically a drone recently over the lake. And you can see like an outline of what looks like a sea creature. But it's not really, even though it's a drone, you would think it'd have like the best picture. But of course, it's like Bigfoot. Everything's like shaky and stuff like that. So. Yeah. You don't get like the clear.
Like, Samsung phones and stuff like that, even Apple's now, they have that anti-shake when you're taking a video and you're walking.
Oh,
So
really?
why can't they just stick that on a drone?
Yeah, you would think that would be one of the things that they would
Anti-shake
want. Yeah,
camera,
yeah,
4K.
yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, like, you know what I don't know if they have this or not. I've just thought about it right now, actually. I wonder if there's, like, an actual video on the Loch Ness, like runs 24/7, that people can go on the website and just take a look at the Loch Ness. Did you see anything?
I didn't find anything right now. I know they set it up when they did the hunt last year. They had one set up. They might set one up again this year. I don't know. It is fascinating. This loch has had so much research done on it. Like it went through in 87 they did Operation Deep Scan. 24 boats with echo sounding equipment were spaced around the loch, and they sent signals simultaneously. They would have caught an anchovy moving.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They would have caught. So the BBC recorded that they had actually encountered a signal of surprising strength and size. And further tests found debris at the bottom of the area and motion on some photos, but nothing conclusive. A sonar expert, well-renowned, donated time and equipment to it. And he felt that there's something that wasn't understood. Something is there that they don't understand. The amount of time and effort people have put into finding this are unbelievable. And they're out now with like thermo drones and you name it. But there's nothing that's coming through that is absolute conclusive proof. In 2018, actually a DNA survey was launched of the lake. They thought, well, let's check this lake for what is the DNA that we find in here. They were trying to see, it was a group of universities, and they were looking for unusual species. They found no DNA from any large fish. They didn't find any otter or seal DNA. So the idea that the pictures might be of otters or seals, well, there's no DNA from them in the lake anywhere. They also found no reptilian DNA. So there's the idea of, could it be a dinosaur? They say no. They did find a lot of eel DNA, like a massive amount of eel DNA. So that one was curious, and I don't know how they run the DNA scan of the lake. Like, do they just take it from the water or whatever? I couldn't find that information, but that one I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, kind of neat.
My guess is they probably take it from the water, or they would like take samples of the soil too, maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I think it's all like on the bottom it's a lot of like soil and rock and all that. And
Well, even if you find bones, you can check the marrow of it if
yeah,
it's fresh
exactly.
enough, right?
Yeah, but to me, I don't think there's really that much living in that loch, because it's really disgusting.
Oh, it's apparently an amazing fishing spot. Like it's the water is full of peat. Now, the interesting thing on that one is
Excuse me.
peat is created by decomposing animals. Like it's an old thing. Like eventually peat turns into like oil eventually, but peat is organic material decomposing. I think my science might be off. So if it's all peat there, it's very rich water, so it's really good for animals to live in, but it is also fresh water. So, like what could be in it? But yeah, it's good for fishing. Is that why? Because of the freshwater part? Okay. All right. Yeah, and they found none of that, no evidence of that in the DNA scans, but a lot of eels. Yeah.
There is a rumor that, well, there are some really good theories out there. I mean, like, well, not really good theories, I should say, just some funny ones. Thinking what it could possibly be. Like, we already said that it could be a reptile or something like that, but actually one of the funnier one is a swimming circus elephant.
Okay, that's a new one.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that online. I was just like, okay. Yeah, but I
We've
mean, like,
seen them in African lion safari, and I could kind of get the shape, but
yeah, I mean, like, it could be. You never know, right? It could.
in Scotland,
Well, what if there was a circus nearby and it just happened, and one of the circus elephants left the circus?
it's like I gotta bath my elephant.
and what's swimming in the water. I don't know. I think that was hilarious myself, but I mean, yeah, I mean, like there's so many different theories. I mean, I was made up a theory of myself, and
Well, what's your theory?
my theory, it's an alien.
You think so?
Yeah, it's an underwater alien. Maybe it's like a bunch of aliens in like this, like they have like some kind of like their own submarine, but it looks like a prehistoric thing, or it's a rocky thing, and they have like a little thing that comes up like a telescope or whatever, and it looks around and stuff. You never know.
You never know.
Kind of cool. So like the head of the monster is like its periscope that comes up and looks around, and they all they swim around inside of this ship of some sort. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And because it's alien, you'll never be able to find it, right?
So for me, it's hard because I like
That's
to
what
go
she
on
said.
science.
Yeah.
And the science is kind of showing me. What?
Science.
Oh, okay. The science keeps saying that with all the sonar hits coming back negative, with all the pictures being so grainy and hard to make out, with the DNA evidence, doesn't seem like there's much there. But there is a theory I do like. I can't say I believe in it, but I like it. So one thing to note is that Nessy is not the only lake creature. There's actually two other very popular ones.
Ooh.
And I won't go into them much, but one is Champ from Lake Champlain in North America, which is a lake, it's kind of like in New York, Vermont, Quebec. And over the years, there's been hundreds of sightings. In fact, they even claim that Samuel de Champlain sighted the creature himself in 1609.
What is Champ?
So Champlain is said to have said he was like 20 feet long, thick-bellied serpent with a head like a horse.
Oh.
Over the years, Champ has been like Nessy. There's many people who report seeing them. There's videos, there's pictures, and their descriptions are remarkably similar, like almost identical. The other one is Ogopogo, which is Canadian, residing in Lake Okanagan in BC. Now, I've been there many times, and I remember seeing like the statue of Ogopogo and all that. And
That'd be a great corn dog
Ogopogo.
stand, eh? Ogopogo. Come get you a corn dog.
Well, an Ogopogo its description differs. It's said to be very serpentine-like, with smooth dark skin and a thick body up to around 15 meters in length. And then it moves extremely fast with giant undulations of the body, like a snake.
Yeah, that was the kind of thing I was mentioning, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a local legend of the native people of the area, and I am going to get this pronunciation all wrong, so I apologize.
I'll try and help.
The Secwepemc and the Silix are the native tribes of the area, and I know I said them wrong.
I've got no help.
They called it. they called the creature Naha'ik. I think.
Nahas.
Naha'ik. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Like that.
I'm sorry. I'm not making. Yeah. All right. They believe that it had great power, but it actually was evil. And the lore says that it was a water god that demanded a live sacrifice in order to cross Lake Okanagan.
And Michael Bay says it was a transformer.
The settlers first detailed it in 1872, and since then it's been filmed many times. The funny thing is there was actually a hunt for it a few years ago, and Greenpeace stepped in when the reward was offered and said that it must be captured alive and not harmed. So that's kind of funny. Here's the hunt for a lake monster and a reward for finding it. And Greenpeace is like, no, you can't kill it. You can't kill it. So like Greenpeace stepped in. It's claimed to actually travel.
It's good to see that a mythological creature is being protected.
Yeah. It's said to actually travel up to like 40 kilometers an hour. And you see like humps on the water. But when you think about Nessy and then these two, what's interesting is these two lakes are about the same, reportedly about the same depth as Loch Ness. And they're freshwater lakes. And I think they both were formed by glaciers.
Did you pee in the lake?
I never went in them. Sorry.
Ah.
And so one theory, which I've heard many times, is that the reason why Nessy isn't found is because Nessy travels. That under the earth, there are a whole bunch of tunnels that connect some of these ancient glacier lakes. And so, like, Nessy can spend a few months in Scotland and then go in the tunnels and travel halfway across the world.
Now, is that too deep for a diver or like a unmanned submersible or something like that?
The problem is there's no evidence of these tunnels. So,
yeah, that's what I mean.
are
Like,
they
can't we go
hidden?
check?
Are they a portal? But so the theory I kind of, if I had to choose a theory that is based that Nessy exists, I kind of like the one that Nessy is maybe one creature, like Nessy, Champ, and Ogopogo might be one creature that just moves between these lakes.
What about Unga Bunga?
And so, you know, the idea that it could just travel halfway across the world, like under the ocean in this hidden lake, in this hidden tunnel, or maybe some weird portal system, interdimensional. I don't know. That gets pretty out there. But what
It's
if
a
it
time warp and it's actually one of the old dinosaurs just kind of blipping into our reality for
Yeah.
a little bit before it blips away again?
But it is fascinating how the
Give you theories for
descriptions
days.
are so similar to a plesiosaur.
So say they found DNA for one, and they're like, okay, this thing's clearly extinct or about to be, and they start to clone the thing. Do you think that's a good idea?
Oh, it would make a good Hollywood movie, wouldn't it?
I think it's called Jurassic Park, but that's besides the point. Because they are finding more dinosaur DNA and stuff, and they're mixing it with frogs and stuff. Dude, they're literally doing the Jurassic Park thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's the greatest idea, but hey.
Greg, you want to do it later?
Let's start this thing.
We'll get a dinosaur going.
Oh, yeah. Build your own pet. Build
Okay.
your own dinosaur.
What if we could make a miniature? So, like, no, I'm talking like a
It'd still kill
micro
you.
Bronto, and the thing eats lettuce, and he's about this big.
Yeah, that could be kind of fun. Keep it in an aquarium. I think you'd be all right.
And the people at home can't see my hands, but it's about, I don't know, 2 feet long. 2 feet long brontosaurus, you know. You can call it a pocket Bronto.
Make a pond in your backyard and put it in your pond, and it'd be fine. You know, it won't leave. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. This.
did you guys ever see the Star Wars Holiday Special where they had the portable fish tank?
No. I haven't
It
seen
was
that.
literally like a microfish stuck into this little tank. But anyways,
Uh,
yeah.
I know. The more research I did for Nessy, it seems more mythical to
Yeah.
me. Like, which is kind of sad, but I mean at the same time, I mean, it is what it is, right? I think there's not. I mean, there is evidence, but when you compare it to other cryptid things that are out there, this one doesn't have as much support as as other ones does.
Like I know that you're like pretty big into Bigfoot.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff about Bigfoot.
Right. I mean, you can go on forever, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, because it's all in one location, it's hard. I mean, if you haven't found it yet,
Yeah.
you're probably not gonna find it.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can only be so big.
Right.
You know, like it's not like Bigfoot who has, you know,
The whole world,
million
basically.
miles
Yeah.
of forest to traverse and different continents and all that kind of stuff he could live in. No, we're just talking about Lake Loch Ness. Where's
Right.
that one?
But there is, of course, there's lots of things in the ocean we haven't found either.
Yeah, that's true.
See, that's the thing, though, is that the loch actually does connect out to the sea.
Oh yeah, most of them do. That's what they're for.
So, what if the creature
An aquifer.
comes in there and is in there for only brief periods of times and then goes out to the ocean? We'd never find it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a famous photo of some, I think it was a Japanese boat or something that pulled up a carcass that everyone said was a
Okay.
plesiosaur.
I just had
What?
a mental image of a plesiosaur doing a free willy thing over the.
Yeah. Like it's, but the idea, like plesiosaurs lived like 200 million years ago.
I was going to say, you want to try that again?
I mean, how could something survive that long without
It's like
us
65
knowing about
million
it? But
years
then,
ago or something.
if it went down into the deepest part of the ocean most of the time, who knows? We might not know.
There's stuff down there that would make your head spin.
There's stuff down there that would eat your head.
Yeah, lots of it too.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever want to learn something, watch the Octonauts. It's freaking crazy stuff. So, we're at 45 minutes. Are we good? Everybody got their things in? Colleen's just double checking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
I mean, it's Nessy. I mean, it's Nessy.
Yeah.
Like,
Alrighty. Thank you.
Fun. Lots of information.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Colleen and Greg, for researching the hell out of this thing. And we will talk at you guys next week. Have a good one.